Today, let's talk about making the uncomfortable a little more comfortable. Firm leaders are comfortable analyzing numbers, discussing reports, making business development decisions, and giving positive feedback to their team. However, when it comes to having a conversation about something that is challenging or might cause some conflict, that comfortable turns into uncomfortable in a snap. Today, we want to explain how to approach and then successfully handle that tough conversation that you've been putting off. So think of a conversation you've been avoiding. Got it? Keep that in your mind as we explore a few things together. The first step is to prepare yourself for the conversation and clearly understand what you're trying to accomplish. It might sound elementary, but this step is often ignored, and we go into the conversation not really understanding what we want to do. What's the why for this communication that will allow the likelihood of a positive ending? Start by asking yourself some or maybe all of the following questions. What is your purpose for having the conversation? What do you hope to accomplish? What would be an ideal outcome? Watch for the hidden purposes. You may think you have honorable goals like educating of a staff member or maybe promoting or talking to a fellow partner about their drop in performance, but they only feel the language is maybe obsessively critical or condescending. You think you want to support, but you end up punishing. Work on yourself so that you enter the conversation with a supportive purpose. What assumptions are you making about this person's intentions or actions? You may feel intimidated, belittled, ignored, disrespected, or marginalized, but cautious about the assuming that this was their intention. Impact does not necessarily equal intent. Next, what buttons of yours are being pushed? Are you more emotional than the situation warrants? Take a look at the backstory, as they say in the movies. What personal history is being triggered? You may still have the conversation, but you'll go into it knowing that there's some things that will heighten the emotional state. How is your attitude toward the conversation influencing your perception of it? If you think this is going to be horribly difficult, it will probably be just that. If you truly believe whatever happens, some good will come out of it, then that will likely be the outcome. Try to adjust your attitude for maximum effectiveness. Who is the other party? What might they be thinking about in this situation? If so, how do you think they perceive it? What are the needs and their fears? Get inside their head. Begin to reframe the other person into an equal in the process. What are their needs and their fears? And what are the common concerns they have? How have you contributed to the problem? That's a tough one for us to look at sometimes. Once you have a clear view of the real issues by asking all of these questions, the next step is to ensure a successful outcome by setting up that face-to-face meeting. The majority of the work that we do in this difficult conversation, you have to put it into yourself first. So maybe as you have this conversation, be keenly aware of emotions, yours and theirs. Staying in control and keeping your attention on the end result is the underlying purpose in the conversation. First, foremost, look at inquiry. Cultivate an attitude of discovery and curiosity. I want to know what's going on so we can fix this. It's definitely looking at the why, which we talked about earlier, behind the conversation that you're having. Make sure you watch their body language as you're having the initial conversation and kind of listen for that unspoken words and feelings. Crossing of the arms, looking down, smirking, all of those things can tell you a lot, but you have to be looking for them. Let them talk. Give them open-ended questions and let them tell you what they're thinking. Try to learn as much as you can as they're giving you their feedback and then as you're asking the questions. This inquiry piece of the conversation is so important to actually that positive outcome that you need to spend plenty of time there. Now, the second step that you need to do is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement means showing that you've heard and understood them. Try to understand that what the other person said. Mirror it back to them. It's one of the best strategies you can use. Here's what I heard you say. Acknowledgement, whenever you can, including your own defensiveness. When you can say to them, I know I'm feeling defensive about this and here's why, opens up a whole new level of conversation that maybe you've never had before. I know that I'm defensive and I think it's because you appear to be angry. Having those kind of conversations at first will feel a little fake, but later, after you've done those for a while, you'll see that the outcome becomes much more positive and that positive communication starts happening, and then it is far better. Next step, advocacy. You need them to feel that you are their advocate, that you are in their court, that you want to do what is best for them. What you can see from their perspective, and that you can really clarify their position and you can help them. Advocacy means I am your person. I am going to help you. And so making sure that they understand that you are in it for them will absolutely turn the conversation around. The key to this conversation is being in the other person's court and showing them that while you do not agree with all the things that they're saying, you do believe the solution can be found. Step 4, problem solving. Now you've gotten into the point where you've got that relationship built. Now you need to brainstorm and continue the inquiry and find out, how are we going to fix this? Make this not about you telling them, this is about you together fixing this. So making sure that you're asking the other person's point of view usually creates that safety and that encouragement that they need. This is a collaborative conversation. That is something that takes a little getting used to, and it'll take practice, a little more practice, and maybe a little bit more practice. The art of conversation is like a leadership skill, but when you continue to be more proficient at it, the better you will be. Just a couple of other little tips and suggestions. A successful outcome will depend on a couple of things: how well prepared you are and how comfortable you are with that actual conversation. Knowing and returning your central purpose is always a good idea. Don't take verbal attacks personally. Don't assume that the other person can see things from your point of view. And practice the conversation with a friend before holding the real one. Mentally practice that conversation and see various possibilities and visualization. Envision the outcome before you make it happen. But the one thing I would absolutely encourage you not to do is ignore. Having these conversations the first time will be very uncomfortable. The second time gets a little better, and every one you have to have out there, after that, you will become better and better at it. That skill will get higher and higher, and you will become the leader that you really want to be.